You can listen to The Professional Left wherever you get your podcasts, on Netroots Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There is a PayPal button at our website, or you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for the week of July 14th, 2023. It's not safe for work.
Recorded live from the Cornfield Resistance, where this week we're going to talk about whatever Blue Gal wants to talk about because Sunday is her birthday. Yay! Happy birthday, Blue Gal! It's The Professional Left with Driftglass and Blue Gal.
Driftglass, thank you for that. I don't know what that was, but thank you for the birthday wishes.
That was the whoop whoop, and thank you for your birthday, and happy birthday, and
happy birthday.
I love you.
It's a birthday ending in 0, so it's a big one.
It's a big one.
And it's also my late mother's birthday. I was born on her birthday, so Hal Sparks has that. He was born on his mother's birthday also. Mm-hmm. It's a day in that regard that I just remember her. And I always think of her as being one of the intake specialists at the Rainbow Bridge. She was a great lover of animals of every variety. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I picture her when I'm feeling sad about her being gone. Is like, oh, no, she's at the Rainbow Bridge, and I'm not going to think about it, the sad parts anymore. She's taking care of all the cats and so forth. But it is a happy birthday to me. I am... very, very grateful to be at this point in my life. I have a great husband. I have great kids. And this is my job, talking on a podcast, which I'm grateful to have that. So thank you guys for all your support. And I love you guys. And it's never too late to send me a birthday card. I love birthday cards.
Never too late. Never too late.
And I do want to share with everybody, Junior Dude is in Washington State.
He is.
And he sent me a birthday card. And it said on it, I want you, Mom, on your birthday to channel your inner Bosco. And Bosco is our cat who I have shared on Twitter many times.
Who's more famous than either of us on Twitter.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Channel your inner Bosco and treat yourself well. And make sure that your wine with a bump, and wine with a bump is... a special drink that I have every once in a while when times are tough. I have a glass of red wine with a splash of Grand Marnier in it. And that's called wine with a bump. And nobody bothers Mom when she's having wine with a bump. But he said, make sure your wine with a bump is always freshly poured.
Yeah.
So he gets me.
He does.
My adult son gets me.
Well, and your adult son with my adult stepson with autism. Is extremely verbal and clever and knows where the punchlines are. And
yes, he does. He knows where the punchlines are. He does.
He knows how to tell a story and formulate, a complex narrative, which is very impressive. And I'm like, this is cool. This young man is.
He also knows every flag of the world.
He does.
I mean, they're just things that are very quirky about him.
Yes,
that are fascinating. Geography has always been something that he gloms onto.
And not just every flag of the world, but what's the adjacent flag to this flag?
Yeah, that's a new thing. We play a game every morning. He calls me every morning to say hi and check in. He doesn't have to, but he just does. Uh-huh. And we play something called Global. It's like Wordle, but it's you guess a country anywhere in the world, and it tells you how far in kilometers the actual country of the day is from your guess. Mm-hmm. And so he usually zeroes in on it within 5 or 6 guesses.
Fast.
He has strategies. He'll start with Brazil or Russia because those countries have a lot of other countries bordering them. Mm-hmm. And then if it's tens of thousands of kilometers away, he knows he's on the wrong hemisphere. But we go through, and within 5 or 6 guesses, he's got it. And, it'll be something like Botswana. Yeah. And he knows what countries are around Botswana. Mm-hmm. And so he's, if I tell him, and finally it says,
adjacent
your guess is adjacent to the answer. Yeah. And it's 3 other countries. He knows what those countries are. So then we started playing a game called Flaggle, which is guessing the flag of the country. But then I had never played this with him before. And the second question was, okay, here are 6 flags from flags of the world. Which flag is a flag of the adjacent country to the original guess? And he went, it's number 2, Mom.
Come on, Mom. Come on.
It's like advanced thinking,
Yeah. No.
Knowing all of the adjacent countries, then knowing all of their flags and being able to choose that flag. And Junior Dude can do that with no sweat.
Right.
And clearly that game was designed by a Junior Dude. Somebody else's Junior Dude.
Absolutely.
Out there.
Somewhere there's a trinity to his Neo.
Yes.
He's going to run. Whoa, oh my God.
And the mom of the young man who designed Flaggle, I salute you.
Yes.
You've been through a lot to get your kid to this point.
Let's talk. Get in touch. Let's talk.
But look, Driftglass, we got to talk about the Republican House Oversight Committee, Driftglass.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of red flags and that can be identified at a great distance.
They are really having a hard week.
Yeah, they're on.
And
well, yeah, they are.
It's very well deserved.
Yeah.
They bet it all on Gal Luft, who turns out to be now a fugitive from justice.
Oh, well, it's just a couple of parking tickets for Gal.
And so instead of saying, "Oh my God, this guy's a Chinese spy, he's a problem. We need to cut our ties with this person, or
move on.
Make sure there's an investigation as to how he fooled us."
Right.
They're doubling down on the anti-justice part of it. Like, how dare you make him a fugitive from justice? It must be justice's fault.
You scared him away. How dare you scare him away? You scared all of this away.
And then the indictment was last November.
Right.
And sealed. And then he had bail.
Yep.
And then he skipped bail.
Like you do.
And one of the charges is lying to federal officials.
But still.
I'm sorry to laugh. This is serious stuff. When members of Congress have been fooled by a Chinese spy, that's serious. Well, that is a serious breach of national security. I don't mean to be giggling about this.
The word fooled is extremely generous of you, Blue Gal. I mean, really, it is just dumping money down a whole marked money pit.
Yeah.
And you just go, well, eventually it'll fill up with enough money that it'll spill back out onto my lap. That'll be great.
Yeah. I wrote about this, or I cross-posted, Hunter at Daily Coast has a post about this that I cross-posted at Crooks and Liars. And, he's got the list of, the 17 tapes that were going to blow open the Biden investigation.
Oh, man.
And the boxes of his documents in the garage. And on and on and on. And how all of this stuff, witnesses that died, witnesses that were in a Lamborghini and disappeared or died or didn't exist. The what is it? The WhatsApp messages.
Right. Oh, yeah. All those
2 of them that it turns out were possibly manufactured. Might have been a Photoshop. You don't know. And all of these things were going to blow open, the investigation into Hunter Biden. And again, I go back to this, and I know you don't want me to apply logic to these people.
Well, you can. That's fine.
But here's the deal: Hunter Biden cooperated with authorities and paid his taxes.
Yes, he did.
And it is very, very hard to prosecute a person who pleads guilty.
And does the thing they're supposed to do.
And complies. And complies with law enforcement. And says, yes, I will plead guilty to this charge. I paid my back taxes. I took out a mortgage on my house to pay my back taxes, particularly the IRS stuff. And this is where there's this IRS whistleblower who's supposedly going to blow the lid open that there have been all kinds of preferential treatment given to Hunter Biden.
Sure. Yeah.
He paid his taxes.
He did.
That's the only reason the IRS will even attempt to threaten you with legal action is you're not paying. They want compliance.
They do.
And their job is to get you to comply, which means pay your taxes. That's why places that do tax relief
They're all over the radio.
That's why they work. That's why people say, oh, I owed them $50,000 and now I only owe them $5,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah, they
because
saved me.
The IRS wants to negotiate this money down so that you will simply comply.
Right. They don't want to put you in jail.
And be able to comply so they can file your paperwork and be done with you.
Prosecuting you is a huge waste of resources. All they want is the money, and he gave them their money.
So they're just continually wanting to, as I have said many times, create taxpayer-funded content for Hannity.
Right.
And they are doing that. They continue to do that.
Yes, they are.
And the question is, at what point does Fox News hang it up? I mean, Steve Doocy has lost his patience with James Comer several times on the air.
Yeah. Okay.
But James Comer can always go over to Newsmax.
Right. The as I described it, the overflow toilet for the Fox News.
The overflow toilet of Fox News is Newsmax. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
that
just,
was brilliant. Thank you.
When there are too many turds in the bowl, they overflow to Newsmax, and they catch them and they use them, and I have a growing sensitivity to certain words and phrases, like at some point, or
at some point, yes,
or sooner or later, or the American people, and at some point, Fox News will chew all the flavor out of this particular wad of gum, and they'll get another one. Okay, a little housekeeping in the middle of our podcast. We had gotten about 20 minutes in and noticed that our clock wasn't moving and nothing was being recorded. We've had a few problems today with our connections. I was just about to launch into an extremely interesting discussion of Mark Halperin.
Yes, you were.
And then apparently the ghost of Mark Halperin reached into our podcast and screwed up our recording equipment. So we are now starting back at the most important thing today, which is Blue Gal's birthday and the sunk cost fallacy. So
the sunk cost fallacy of the House Oversight Committee, which Driftglass was saying, think about the Iraq War. Right? And they always come up with another lie and another myth to sell because that's what they're in the business of doing. Yeah.
And they bet it all on Gal Luft. And here we are.
So I'm sorry. I apologize for our technical difficulties, but we are going to now talk about the sort of triumphant return of Mark Halperin.
Yeah, because that's what people tune in for, Blue Gal. They want to hear more.
We got a lot of emails, though, Driftglass.
We did. We got an awful lot
from
of
people
emails.
saying, oh, my God, I saw Mark Halperin on MSNBC this morning.
Yeah. It's not quite mailing us your poop and saying, check this out. No, we read them and appreciate them. And I appreciate the fact that there are very few other people maybe out there who want to talk about what this means, the signifier of this. Yeah. So, but it was a sort of triumphant return of Mark Halperin. You might remember Mark Halperin. I once wrote about him as going from the chopper to the chipper, like the wood chipper, in record time. He was the number one right-wing Pez dispenser for the network. He was constantly on Meet the Press. He was the guy who thought that everything was great news for John McCain, no matter how bad things got. He's just terrible guy. And it turns out he's a sex pest, too. And that cost him his job at NBC, MSNBC, every place else. He used to go on the radio, I think, with Sean Hannity. And I remember Hannity saying once, because I listened to the tape, of him being you're my favorite media guy. It was just this constant suck up, creepy asshole thing that he did that apparently the networks couldn't get enough of. They just loved them some Mark Halperin, but they finally had to cut him loose. So he fell from top guy to broadcasting for Newsmax, from something that appeared to be his grandma's bathroom to interviewing Donald Trump, some flattering interview of Donald Trump for Newsmax. That's how far he had fallen. And you can just hear him silently screaming, please get me a better job than this. Please, please. And then he ended up at No Labels, because No Labels hires all the grifters. And he had some feather bedding job there for like 6 figures or 5 figures. They let him go from there. So he's also got a consulting firm, which does like focus groups, because there aren't enough of those in the world. And apparently Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski looked, and through all the towns in all the world, the only consulting company they could find who would talk about Joe Biden's age was Mark Halperin's. And so they brought him back in like a seance. They sat around, they held hands, they lit a little candle in the middle and said, "Spirit of the great beyond, is Halpern still with us?" And yes, he's still here, and someone's still paying him for his shitty opinions and bad ideas. And so they had him on via videotape, which maybe is, I don't know, is there an order of protection to keep him out of the studio? Like, we can't have him here personally, but we can have him flown in via videotape. But the lesson here, and later on, I think they had Chris Matthews on, who was also a sex pest, who also got fired, and who also has been coming back. There's a lesson here, a very important lesson, and that is the difference between the cobbled together liberal media and the Beltway media. The cobbled together liberal media, Jonathan Chait's expression for you and me and 4 other people, is that we can never get on camera. We will never be at that point. We'll never be on MSNBC via letter, a text. They'll never have a video of us. But if you're a member of the Beltway Insider Club, you can never be let go completely, because it sends a bad message to every other hack in the Beltway Club that if you lose your membership, you're out. So we have to protect all of our members at all costs. So no matter how bad you are, no matter what a fuck up you are, no matter how many bad opinions you have, no matter how many times you've been wrong, no matter how many horrible things you might have done, except being a sex pest, they will find a way to bring you back every goddamn time. And that's the lesson of Mark Halpern. We used to joke about the length of time that you're suspended from saying something stupid on the air as a full Halpern.
Like calling Barack Obama president of the United States kind of a dick.
Kind of a dick on the air.
On the air.
Because,
yes.
And that's a month. That was a full Halpern, 30 days. And we set our stopwatches, and boom, boom, boom. 31st day, Halpern's back on the air. And you can watch that happen all over the media. Someone does something horribly stupid, completely, let's suck up to Republicans harder and let's be explicit about it. And it says something stupid, boom, they're off for, is that a half Halpern or a full Halpern? Well, Halpern's gone now. And bringing him back is apparently their number one priority, because remember, the number one product that MSNBC produces is the rehabilitation of horrible people who should never be on the air. That's their product. That's why Nicole Wallace is there. That's why Joe Scarborough is there. It's to keep bringing Steve Schmidt back and keep bringing Matthew Dowd back and keep bringing Rick Wilson and the entire constellation of Bush regime dead-enders who should not be on television, who should not have a platform, rehabbing them and putting them back in those chairs. And that's what they're trying to do for Halpern. And they start off small with, a seance and a ghostly image. And they look around to see if anybody notices. And if it's just me and Blue Gal, screw it. Let's bring it back live next time. Or a puppet show, maybe. Or some sort of, floating voice in the air. Or maybe a Mark Halpern impersonator. Or maybe like they do like the blue dot in front of him, like in a court testimony where you can't see if it's him or not. Or an outline of him. Or something like that. But the ethos of the Beltway Club is never allow a member to be cast out forever, because it breaks the spirit of everyone
and it's
else.
not just cast out. You've talked many times, Driftglass, about how MSNBC provides unlimited advertising space to the Bulwark.
Oh yes, and the Lincoln Project.
This was an ad for Mark Halpern's startup, which is called Walking Duck instead of Lame Duck. That it's Walking Duck, Driftglass.
Okay, whatever.
And Walking Duck is described by TechCrunch as a digital news startup trying to find middle ground in U.S. politics.
What? A middle ground thing? Where can I buy stock in that company?
So on the video of the, I know, I just gave him a coronary, everybody.
Yeah. Now I have to go throw up for a minute.
Red flag waved in front of a bull. Here we go.
We will have to suspend recording of the podcast again. Well, I go make a sick in the yard.
His breath. He's going to go stick his head under the hose for about 10 minutes.
Yeah. If I were just a little dumber and a little less ethical, we could make a lot of money.
Man. It is really bad, Driftglass. All right. Hey, you know what? Deep breath. Let's play a game. All right. And this is not a sex game. This is not, this is just a fun.
Sexy birthday game? Is it a sexy
birthday game? No, this is not a sexy birthday game.
Fine.
My age ends in 0, Driftglass.
Hey, it's just a state of mind, baby. Just a state of
I'm
mind.
glad you can still call me baby after all these years.
Babe.
Okay, so here's the deal. I found an op-ed this week.
Uh-huh.
It is in a major American newspaper. It was published this week.
Okay.
It's by someone that you have definitely heard of.
All right.
It is not David Brooks. I'll just tell you that up front. And it is not written in a liberal magazine. It's in a newspaper, an actual American newspaper on the opinion page of an American newspaper.
I have a question. Right? Is it the State Journal Register?
No, it is not the State Journal Register. This is a national newspaper that is quoted on MSNBC that everyone has heard of. Okay. Big newspaper. All right.
Gotcha.
And this is an op-ed that appeared in that paper this week. This is not a post of yours from 10 years ago. I'm not trying to trick you. Okay. This was in the paper this week. Okay. So we got that straight.
Right.
Here, I'm going to read it to you, and I want you to guess who wrote it.
All right. Okay.
All right. The headline is, "A perpetually surprised media isn't doing its job."
Okay. Time out.
Yeah.
You have now forced me to cognitively discard 90% of all the pundits I know. Maybe 95. I don't know.
Yeah, there's all kinds of people that you know it isn't, right?
Boom. It's a very short list now, is it? And I'm on that list, and you told me it's not me.
It's somebody writing about how the media isn't doing their job. All right.
Okay. All right.
Here's the op-ed. Quote, "U.S. economy shows surprising vigor in first half of 2023, a Wall Street Journal headline proclaimed this past week."
Okay.
On Axios, one read, "The economy's latest upside surprise."
All right.
Yahoo Finance intoned, "Surprisingly strong U.S. economic data keeps recession fears at bay." Surprise. You see a theme. Okay. "You might find it remarkable that outlets touting their economic foresightedness and keen analysis could be continually surprised about the economy's strength after 29 consecutive months of job growth, inflation steadily declining, durable goods having been up for 3 consecutive months, 35,000 new infrastructure projects, an extended period in which real wages exceeded inflation, and outsized gains for lower wage earners."
Okay.
It's as though outlets are so invested in the narrative of failure and imminent recession that reams of positive data have had little impact on their quote-unquote narrative.
Oh, God, it is the Iraq War all over again. Yeah, okay. All right.
This op-ed does not mention the Iraq War. Okay.
Oh, okay.
But it's about the economy. All right. "Part of the problem might be the media's preference for political horse race coverage over events on the ground. What do voters think? About what? About the media's own negative spin on the economy? Replaces what's going on." Now, this is the paragraph that really made me stand up and take notice. "We have seen far too little coverage of the economic transformation in little towns, rural areas, and aging metro centers brought about by new investment in plants, infrastructure projects, and green energy related to the CHIPS Act.
Yeah.
It sure would be nice to know what's happening in the heartland. When a new chip manufacturing plant creates thousands of jobs, or when a new bridge creates scores of construction jobs, and then cuts commute times. So intent on hyping the politics of what the administration is doing, the mainstream media too frequently neglects coverage of what President Biden's initiatives are accomplishing. When the media consistently gets the big stories wrong or fails to cover major economic changes..."
Oh, hold on. Are you sure this wasn't me? Are you sure this wasn't me?
I am sure this is not you.
Okay.
This is not you. Okay.
Right.
"One would hope they'd look back to explain why their coverage diverged from reality and do a better job of covering actual developments rather than GOP talking points, process stories, like how Biden is selling his plan, and polling. Unfortunately, waiting for the mainstream media to engage in self-reflection, e.g., maybe it overdid the butthurt emails in 2016,
Okay. All right.
Maybe there was no red wave in 2022. Let alone self-correction might be a waste of time. Now, that last sentence sounds straight out of Driftglass. Yeah, that is going full Driftglass. Okay, it's a waste of time to try to fix the mainstream media because they are designed to do this way.
They never change. They never reflect on themselves.
It's not a bug. It's a feature. Absolutely.
All right. So halfway through,
I want you to guess.
Halfway through,
I've given you the parameters.
Okay. Let me just say.
Yeah, it's not David Brooks, by the way.
Let me just say, halfway through, I knew it wasn't me because there's no swears in this. So
yes, there's no swears.
Okay. All right. Parameters. Give me parameters.
Your parameters are: it's a major American newspaper. It is on the opinion page. It is not a guest editorial.
Okay.
It's not Elie Mystal writing for The Nation. Okay. It's definitely a newspaper, and it was published in the paper as a fresh new op-ed this week.
Okay. All right. So
it's not Driftglass from 2010. Okay. I'm not trying to trick you. This is really was in the paper this week.
So it couldn't be David Korn or someone like that because they're right.
I mean, like I said, it's not someone from The Nation it's from a newspaper.
It's too salty for Jay Rosen, who he doesn't write.
And again, he doesn't write for a major American newspaper.
Oh, all right. I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. Did the LA Times hire Brian Stelter when I wasn't looking?
Not that I know of.
Okay. All right. Well, the only other person I can think of, honestly, is it's about economics, and it's pretty good, and it broadens out into the wider problem. The media just will not cover things that aren't that are positive, and won't correct itself. It feels like Paul Krugman, if he's still writing. I haven't followed him for a while, so I don't know. But Krugman's about the best.
And it has a lot of economic information in it. But Driftglass, was written by Jennifer Rubin
of
the Washington Post. Jennifer Rubin.
Jennifer Rubin?
Yeah.
Jennifer Rubin.
Jen Rubin of the Washington Post. Jennifer Rubin.
All right. Well, I'm living in an alternate universe now where Jennifer.
Yeah.
Now you know what? You're right. It should have been a giveaway that there's nothing prior to 2016 in this.
That was what caught my ear too. Was I was thinking, will Driftglass be able to guess this?
No.
And I thought, no. He won't be able to guess who wrote it.
No.
Because you don't read the Washington Post op-ed every day.
No, I don't.
I wondered if maybe you would guess Perry Bacon Jr., who's written really good op-eds lately.
Yeah, that's a good
and
guess.
He does write for major American newspapers. He writes for WAPO, so that's another possibility. But you didn't guess that.
No.
And then I thought, when I read this to Driftglass, he is going to pick up on the fact that she doesn't mention the Iraq War at all. Sure enough, you did.
Yeah. Maybe it overdid but there are definitely weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Maybe it overdid that part. But that's down the memory hole. And we know which side Jennifer Rubin was on then.
I'm going to say kudos to Jennifer Rubin for channeling a little bit of Paul Krugman and a little bit of Driftglass in there.
That's great.
That not that, as she points out in the op-ed, not that it's going to do any good.
Right.
In terms of fixing the media, but it is heartening while you and I are sitting in the bunker.
Yeah, exactly.
And Driftglass, you brought up the cobbling part of us being cobbled together, and I'm not sure whether that got caught in the last recording or not.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure because a number of people did send this to us, this Jonathan Chait article about the left.
Yeah. The liberal media.
And the liberal media. Just the sentence, which I did tweet out, and I can't believe it exists in the universe, but this is Jonathan Chait writing. After years complaining why liberals lacked their own version of Fox News, we can now see something like it, cobbled together from websites and cable news programming.
That's us, Blue Gal.
That's are cobbled together, folks.
Yeah. We are cobbled.
And that gives us our own Fox News.
We're almost the equivalent. I mean, we're a little less paid, and we're not quite as syndicated everywhere on Earth, etc. But you know what? Here's the thing. I will make you a deal. I will give up. You and I have been podcasting now for 13 years, right? 720 something episodes, right? Okay. And you and I have been blogging for 18 years. You've been blogging like 6 months longer than me, but for 18 years, for like as long as it takes to give birth to a human and send them to college,
Mm-hmm.
we have been blogging every day, pretty much every day.
Yeah.
And I would give all of that up tomorrow if I could just live in a universe where we debate workforce development issues in the heartland.
Honest to God.
All of it. I'd give it all up. All the fame, all the fortune, all the things that blogging has brought me, all the notoriety, all the many times I've appeared.
Except for your marriage.
Well, no. Marriage is unassailable. This is not an Edith Keeler situation, Blue Gal. No. Little Star Trek reference for the fans out there. No, this was my wheelhouse. This is what I did for a living. This is what gave me joy. This is what made me feel productive and engaged. Like I'm part of the world and I'm contributing to it in a tangible way. I was blogging at the time. I was on the down low. I was proud of what I did there. But the whole idea of economic transformation, of bringing really good jobs, training people for good jobs, getting people who are ex-offenders to work in good jobs, manufacturing jobs, factory jobs, and all the spin-off jobs, all the induced jobs from that. If you build a factory, you build houses. And if you build houses, there are families. And if you have families, there have to be schools. And there have to be movie theaters and restaurants and all the other jobs that grow out of these jobs. This massive multiplier effect the CHIPS Act is going to have and is having. That's my wheelhouse. I would love to talk about that 24/7. That would be wonderful. But we don't live in that world.
Right.
And I wish we did. I swear to God, I wish we did. Because I swear to God.
And this is the value, I think, and I hate that we have to deal with this in terms of scraps, but the fact that Jennifer Rubin mentioned the heartland.
I know.
And you and I just sort of, yay, oh, we are here.
It reminds me, if you will, of the Monty Python sketch where the little town of Wainscoting, and they're mentioning the wainscoting in some sketch, and it's, that's the little part that runs along the bottom of the wall where the mouses live. But the family were like, they mentioned us on the telly. They talked about us on the television. They mentioned the heartland in a newspaper that isn't from like here. Yeah. And we exist and we have lots of things going on here. And a lot of them are really good. And a lot of them,
and you and I have coffee with a podcast listener from the Bloomington Normal area.
Yes, absolutely.
Who's talking about just one battery factory opening up.
Uh-huh.
And it's transforming the area. And this area hasn't seen this kind of economic activity since the early 60s.
Yep.
And all of a sudden they're going to have a factory with employees who are going to need roads and going to need, stores to shop at. Right. And they're going to need infrastructure. And it is an amazing transformation. It makes life better for people.
It really does.
It really does. And we have to, as Democrats, we have to message and talk about this.
All the time.
Talk about how, and I think the administration is doing a good job. Pete Buttigieg is out there.
Yes, he is.
Talking about, ferries and roads and bridges and how it makes life better for people. And I saw an ad on social media. Someone had posted a vintage ad, Driftglass, for Levittown from 1947, 48.
Mm-hmm.
And Levittown was this, manufactured housing development only for white people. It was racist. And there were a whole bunch of things that were privileged and redlined and bad about it. But for returning GIs who were white, after World War II, there was housing, and it was government subsidized, and it was no money down. And this ad was advertising these homes with a yard for $60 a month, no money down houses for white male veterans. I mean, we have to keep emphasizing that. It was redlined, but that's $821 today. And when I think of our own kids. Junior Dude is trying to make a way for himself out in Washington State. He doesn't have a place to live yet. He's not homeless, but he doesn't have a place to basically, couch sitting at this point. And there's no housing for people of reproductive age in this country.
Nope.
That's affordable.
Nope.
And we've got to do something about that. And you've said to me as we were rehearsing for this show that this is trench warfare with Republicans, that it just keeps going and going and going. Yeah. I want to remind everybody about the Build Back Better bill that didn't pass the last Congress, and that we can't forget about it. It provided training. It provided nursing care, in-home nursing care to elderly people. It provided daycare for those workers and childcare and that soft economy that is so important to women. And we can't forget that when we're fighting for, and I realize when you're in the trenches and we're fighting for bodily autonomy at this point, you know, this seems like frosting, but really we can't forget it.
No.
And so I just want to speak passionately about that. And so, and the other thing is, Driftglass, we just got our power back last week.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't see an article. People were asking us on social media, why isn't this in the news? That 6 tornadoes touched down within, you know, your city.
Right. Well, all across the area. Yep.
Oh, it was widespread. It was a huge storm, but it knocked out our power for 6 days. I had to see my doctor this week. He was grateful that his power was only off for 3 days.
Yeah.
There are still people in Springfield that don't have power. Now they're isolated and they're on a specific wire situation. And, you know, there are situations where people just have to literally be hooked back up to the grid because all the trees in their area fell. So it is more complicated than just flicking a switch. It took 6 days for them to get our power back on. And yet, and I know it was a holiday weekend too. It was 4th of July weekend, but there was no national news about this storm and its impact until Monday. The storm happened on Thursday at 12:18, and there was no national news. The AP covered it Monday afternoon. So when we say, Jennifer Rubin mentioned the Heartland, hooray!
Yeah, it's minor miracle.
This is life or death stuff to us sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cry.
Well, let me add 2 things if I may.
Yeah.
The first is when we talk about our liberal friends on the coast, I don't mean people who listen to this podcast. I mean the people who are running large podcast networks, who are running on the radio frequently, who are posting to each other, who are working hand in hand with each other. It really does irk me that the vast center of this country really is ignored by the coast. Really is. It is just, if it didn't happen in New York, LA, or DC, it just didn't happen. And believe me, living here, I can tell you, it really gets on your nerves after a while, because you do hear a lot of complaining about what's going on in the heartland. Why are people voting this way? What's going on? Why are they so unhappy? Why are these people voting for Trump? I can tell you why, but you don't want to hear from us in the heartland. You want to hear from each other on the coast. Okay, that's fine. That's the way it is. Got it. Secondly, the part that really makes me want to cry is that I got a glimpse into that possible alternate future where I worked really hard on manufacturing in the Midwest for the city of Chicago. And me and my little team of pirates, because we had to do this without a lot of permission from people upstairs because of other reasons and other circumstances I will tell you about over a beer someday. But owners hated the unions. The unions hated the owners. Everybody hated the Chicago public school system. Everybody hated the Chicago community college system, which was a political sewer. And nobody trusted me because I was from the government. And we got all of those people to work together as for mutual interest. It took a lot of arm bending. It took a little bit of bribery. It took a little bit of vision. It took me never stopping, holding hands with people, coaxing them along, explaining what this could be, putting the worst critics of the school system on a board that let them talk directly to the institution that always shut them out. We had to change curriculums in college. We set up a high school. We set up a workforce center that did nothing but focus on manufacturing. And it worked because everyone recognized their mutual interest. The owners realized they had to have employees who were trained. The unions realized they had to have...
those owners were all Republicans.
They were all Republicans. The Illinois Manufacturing Association and the National Manufacturing Association are not liberal organizations at all. But they realized they had to have employees. They had to have them or their businesses would go under. And we would provide them. We were setting up a system where we provide a whole lot of services, but at the core, we will train people who needed work. Our focus was on people who were disadvantaged, people who'd never gotten in before, people who'd never gotten internships before, people who were ex-offenders. moms single moms looking for a career, focusing on things that could get into the middle class with a minimum of training. And unions loved us because we're creating future union members. The schools loved us because we were actually creating a school that people wanted to go to and was supported by their community. Companies liked it because they were sponsoring the machine shops in those schools. Community colleges loved us because we were increasing community college attendance because we put machines and teachers at the community college who are actually going to train you for real jobs in the real world. And once you get that wheel spinning virtuously, so many things are possible. So many things are possible. People start actually working together, and all this baggage and scar tissue from 30 years of feuding starts to fade away. And then the recession came, and all that, my part in it came to an end. They found I was redundant and I was let go, and I really haven't worked full time since. But I would love to work in a world. I would love to work in a world where we're arguing over the best way to educate the next generation of young people into either a liberal education or preferably a blended liberal education and a career that is not exportable, that leads to a middle-class life and supports a family. I believe in my heart that is all doable, and the only thing standing in our way is the fucking Republican Party. Honest to God. And I'll get off the soapbox now, but it breaks my heart that I can't have that because these people want to burn the place down and loot the rubble, as opposed to working with a president and a party that wants to work with them to make the future a better place for everyone.
Yep. But Driftglass, no labels.
I know. Jesus Christ.
It's on our list next to talk about no labels, Driftglass.
The dream world I was just living in has just come crashing down and shattered into a million pieces.
Sorry.
Yeah. Thanks, honey. Happy birthday. Here.
Let's create a Magic Pixie Dream Party, Driftglass. That just supports both sides.
Yay. Yeah. Here's the thing. I just did a little post about Joe Lieberman, who apparently can never go away. He's one of those people who's never going to go away. On Tuesday of this very week, No Labels gave the Washington Examiner, the Mooney Times, an exclusive look at their plans for the 2024 election. And it was a pack of lies, and the Examiner spread it everywhere, just like a plague vector. For example, according to polling by Prime Group, which was obtained by the Washington Examiner, when a, quote, moderate independent third-party candidate, unquote, is introduced to the mix, the results favor Trump by roughly 2 points. So it's pretty straightforward. Without a no-labels candidate, Biden wins. With the spoiler candidate, Biden loses. It's a pretty binary choice because that third-party candidate ain't going to win anything. They're just going to draw enough votes away from Biden to guarantee Trump goes back into the White House. So how do the brain trust behind No Labels figure this out? How do they deal with poll numbers? By just ignoring them. By just ignoring them and conjuring up their own bullshit poll that says exactly what they wanted to say, which they assert, first of all, they already have 21% of support out there. 21% of voters just lining up and slavering to jump on their bandwagon.
Who said that 21% of people want to vote for No Labels?
Well, you got to make it kind of like 100 hops, Blue Gal. You have to start with the idea that a whole bunch of people are dissatisfied with the two-party system, which is fine. That's the American way. We hate all options. If you look back through at any midpoint in any administration, everybody wants a third or fourth or fifth choice. Barack Obama, no, I don't want to vote for Barack Obama. He sucks. So you go back, and Americans just hate not having an unlimited number of choices about everything. So you're going to get people griping all the time. Then you get people in that group who said, well, I'm an independent. Except, no, you're not. The actual number of true independent voters is like a fraction of a fraction. Most quote-unquote independent voters lean hard left or lean hard Democrat, lean hard Republican, but they got to say they're independent because they don't want to fight with people, or they want to declare their independence, or Americans love feeling independent, so they say they're independent. So you start with this totally bullshit number of people who are, third-party, prone, independent, and you just say, and we're going to get all of them. No,
wow.
You're not. You're not going to get any of them because, first of all, of that group, a itsy-bitsy number of them are actually independents. So, but that's not, but we're just not going to ignore that because we have our own polls. And our own polls say that when you start off at 21%, so far from the election before any kind of campaign has been launched to inform voters about the vision and the issue propositions of a moderate independent ticket would have, the only thing you can expect is growth, says someone named Dritan Nesho, who is the chief pollster for No Labels.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So,
well, we know how Dritan Nesho got that job.
Yes. Yeah. They're very good at spinning these things.
They're very, very good at spinning bullshit. Yes.
There's going to be, quote, growth in awareness, growth in favorability, growth in recognition. Well, next time the world will take over the world. No, you won't. This is just another bullshit idea. And honestly, I've been writing about No Labels for 13 years. I'm delighted that a lot of people are starting to notice that they are a grift run by grifters and cannot be trusted, and basically are a Republican front group funded by black money or dark money to tip Donald Trump into the White House by creating a spoiler. But the Washington Examiner has really risen to the occasion by becoming the most faithful and flattering media chronicler of No Labels. So way to go. You found your niche. That's wonderful.
It is a vanity project, Driftglass.
It is. It is.
And I think we're getting really frustrated with these vanity projects by people who don't want to publicly support Trump. And you were talking about Dick Gephardt doing something like this?
Yeah. My head started to hurt this morning because I'm writing a post tentatively entitled Crisis on Infinite Number of Independent Third-Party Nonpartisan Groups or Movements. Because everybody has started their own movement. Everybody.
Yeah.
The Lincoln Project has joined the Union, and the Bulwark has joined the Thus and So, and Adam Kinzinger has his own, and they're all the same. They all use the same buzzwords. They're all about uniting America and non-tribal and center left and center right. They all say the same thing. So at what point do they start eating each other? So Dick Gephardt and a bunch of people, I believe from Lincoln Project, certainly Stuart Stevens, are starting another bipartisan independent centrist group to fight No Labels because they don't want Donald Trump elected, which is great. I can think of a different group that doesn't want Donald Trump elected that's already established and is in all 50 states and is doing pretty well, called the Democratic Party. So how about you just hook up with the Democrats? And I think it's just because the stink of being a liberal or being a Democrat or being associated with those people is so strong, with us people, I should say, is so strong, is so wired into the conservative brain and wired into the independent centrist brain that they can't stand the idea of just becoming a fucking Democrat. Even if it's a Joe Manchin Democrat, becoming a Democrat, you know what? Become a Midwest Democrat, you know,
right?
Become a Nikki Baczynski Democrat. You know, is that so hard to do?
Yeah, she's a competent backbencher who doesn't backbencher. Excuse me, competent backbencher who doesn't always vote the way we think she should.
Right. You know,
but she's a Democrat and she's going to vote for, you know, a Democratic Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
And we've got what we've got, right?
Or it become, if you want to follow in, radical bomb throwing tradition of Illinois, become a Dick Durbin Democrat. Because Dick Durbin is known for, his fiery firebrand speeches on the floor of the Senate.
Sure.
Burn this motherfucking house down.
No, he does not say that. No,
he doesn't say that. But the horror of having to share a park bench or a bus seat with a Democrat while on the Democratic bus going to the Democratic nomination is so wired into their brains that they can't bear the idea. So we have to invent a bipartisan,
like I said, Magic Pixie Dream Party. Right. Yes, right.
But we're inventing a bipartisan independent movement to fight another allegedly bipartisan independent movement on behalf of the Democratic candidate for president, which just seems to me weird. It really is like, I don't want to be called a liberal.
Right.
Which is, and I'm awfully tempted to say, I don't want to be called by whatever ethnic group I'm a part of. So I'm going to keep inventing pseudonyms and
for
code
Irish
words. I don't want to be called Irish. So
Driftglass doesn't want to be called Irish.
Call me Celtic American or whatever. Like, no. You're in favor of the Irish candidate. You don't want the guy who's going to knock off the Irish guy to be president. Why don't you just, be, Aaron Go Pra? What's wrong with that? I was like, no, I can't. I can't
possibly do that.
I can't do it.
Driftglass, did you see the news stories this week about how occasionally Joe Biden says a swear?
I did. And I love him even more.
And everyone's like, do you know what Irish people do?
Yeah. Have you been to any Irish home ever?
Ever.
Have you ever? Let's just say that if you watch The Bear episode 7, it's a heightened version, and it's not. They're not Irish.
They're not Irish.
They're not Irish, but I will tell you that it is the 175th least shocking thing you could tell me about Joe Biden. That he's an
and
old
occasionally
Irish guy.
He says a swear and gets a little angry.
Yeah, because oh my God, he swears. He does swears. I was gonna vote for him, Blue Gal, but I'm voting for the pussy grabbing traitor instead because Lord knows he.
Well,
he did.
And then you dig deep into that story, and apparently there was some 28-year-old staffer of Joe Biden's Senate staff,
right,
that climbed into the car with him and said, "Okay, Senator, it's time to do some fundraising calls."
Right.
And he said, "Get the fuck out of my car."
Yeah.
I like him more now.
You know what? Chicago could run for the next 100 years if it would just run on swear jar contributions.
Seriously.
From somebody in my ethnic group saying, get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Just on the Bulls and Cubs alone, you could run the city for 50 years. And the idea that this party of grifting, traitorous, fascist filth would get all bundled up and twisted over Joe having to swear is hilarious. Because it really is
the media having a July 4th week.
Yeah.
Needed something to talk about. Oh,
he did a swear. Did you hear? He did a swear. Like,
we're going to do a dig at Joe Biden that he says the F word every once in a while to his staff.
I want to hear him say it during the State of the Union address. And
I do too.
I want to see him glaring out with laser eyes going,
Marjorie Taylor Greene, fuck off.
Yeah. Hey, is Josh Hawley in here? Hey, fucko. Why don't you get up here? Let's have
You're a coward.
Let's have a man contest up here, fucko. Yeah. And I'm old enough to be your grandfather, but I can still kick your fucking ass.
I can kick your fucking ass, you
Who's
coward.
Next? Come on, step up, assholes.
Ted Cruz?
Uh-huh.
Ted Cruz, you're a fuckwad. All right? Yeah. Moving on. Hey, Driftglass. First of all, I also want to say thank you to everybody. We love you.
Yes.
Again, not too late to send me a birthday card. I love birthday cards. We're a little behind on our thank you notes. We're still kind of restocking our freezer and adjusting to being home with power and getting the garage door open, all those kind of things. So
that's a great project.
Man.
And there's a birthday to plan for. Extensive.
And there's a birthday this weekend. Yeah. And actually, middle child turned 21 2 weeks ago. So
she did.
While the power was out, she has a very memorable birthday.
She does.
But we love you, and I am very grateful to you for all you do for us.
Mm-hmm.
Driftglass, let's do a news roundup.
Oh, must we, Blue Gal? Must we?
Yes, we must.
All right,
the Bidening continues.
Mm-hmm.
New research finds that the Great Resignation reshuffled so many low-wage earners into better work that it led to a 25% reduction in income inequality. I still think we need fewer billionaires, Driftglass.
I think so, too. Many, many fewer billionaires. There's just such an unholy amount of money being poured into the fascist movement in this country. However, some of those fascist outlet malls in the States don't know how to spend their money correctly. So they're in some trouble. Here's a happy story from Arizona. The GOP grifters drain the Arizona Republican Party to near bankruptcy. This is from Boing Boing. The Arizona Republican Party is clinging to one-vote majorities in the state, House, and Senate, and has only $50,000 remaining in its bank account. Quote, that's not much money to fund crucial expenses such as rent, payroll, and campaign operations, reports the Arizona Republic. Just 4 years ago, it had $770,000, but wackos in charge blew its war chest on fake audits, hopeless lawsuits, and other dubious expenditures, like a certain person going to Mar-a-Lago all the time so she can hang out with her buddy.
Arizona
Donald
first,
Trump. Yep. Mm-hmm.
There's another Republican Party. This one's in Minnesota. It's also broke and in debt. Poor people, they're down to their last $50, Driftglass.
$50.
Raw Story reports that according to the Minnesota's Republican Party, their latest FEC filing, they have a total of $53.81 left in the bank.
Uh-huh.
They were also recently fined $100,000 for campaign finance violations for shoddy record keeping. Who could have predicted that?
I really don't. You know what? Bad money handling and corruption in politics, that goes back a long ways. But it does my heart good to see that the cyber ninjas got paid. And the cost of that might be the collapse of the Arizona Republican
Where are
Party.
the cyber ninjas now, Driftglass?
Who knows? They're in the hills somewhere, plotting their return, like the rebels taking to the mountains.
No, but they're gone forever.
This is not a partisan issue, Blue Gal, because major Democratic nominees are also having problems with their campaigns. Like major, really serious, no kidding, Marianne Williamson, who keeps bleeding staff. Hours after Marianne Williamson announced the hiring of her third campaign manager in 5 months, I think that beats Donald Trump's record. 6 staffers left her team through a round of firings and resignations, and I'm sure she's a delight to work for, because that just screams great boss, love her to death, would do anything for her. Yeah.
My Pillow, Driftglass, is auctioning off equipment after retailers pull its products from the shelves. CEO Mike Lindell says annual sales fell $100 million after several big box retailers cut ties following his, and then it's kind of a ... into which I insert crazy bullshit, election claims. But this emergency auction, Driftglass, is also a train wreck.
Yeah.
There's dozens of items with $5 bids. They have pallets of quote-unquote surplus pillows selling for $51 a pallet. Do you want a pallet of bad pillows, Driftglass?
I would like to spend $51 on a pallet. There's no shipping. I did check this out.
Okay.
So I can.
So you have to go up to Minnesota to get the stuff. Is that it?
Well, there's probably a local expediter who would ship it out for you if you know who to call. But I want to be able to do like an anti-Pride Day, the reverse of the Pride Day protests that lunatics have. I want to be able to shoot up a pallet of pillows out of the woods in my protest and talk about Mike Lindell. But really, I don't want to do that. I don't want any part of this. There was one item I saw, which was a single item, was a personal massage table. And I'm like, you know what?
That's disgusting.
Owning Mike Lindell's personal massage table, there might be something there. There might be something.
Oh, no. Not in my house.
Well, I mean, imagine the wax museum and horror people bidding on that. I mean, this is where Mike Lindell did his nasty business before his business went toilet. This is where he sat and did his things while imagining all the terrible conspiracies that were conspiring against him.
While plotting, against the federal government of the United States and a legal election.
But seriously, if you go over to the site, I'm not sure how long this thing's going to run, but you can buy conveyor belts and industrial sewing machines and trucks and really expensive big industrial machines for not a lot of money, and nobody's interested. And it honestly couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Ugh. From Jezebel, GOP mega donor Harlan Crow gave $500,000 to Barry Weiss.
Great.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
She's going to start an anti-woke nonprofit?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any details about this, Driftglass?
Yeah, I do, Blue Gal. Would you like to hear them from Jezebel?
Sure.
I'm just going to steal from Jezebel and quote, Clarence Thomas's billionaire benefactor giving $500,000 to a journalist who paints herself as a centrist and independent is pretty interesting. Quote, here's an extremely cursed sentence. Billionaire and Clarence Thomas benefactor Harlan Crow donated $500,000 to Barry Weiss, one of 2 journalists Elon Musk handpicked to report out the Twitter files, and founder of the, quote, independent, unquote, transphobia peddling outlet, The Free Press, to start a, quote, anti-woke nonprofit. This tidbit is according to a story in the New Yorker about infighting at the group called FAIR, and it's not the FAIR you think it is. This FAIR stands for Foundation Against Intolerance and Racism. Oh no! Weiss
wow.
and her co-founders created this group in March of 2021 in response to their objections over anti-racist theory in schools and implicit bias trainings in workplaces. They reportedly hoped the group would replace the American Civil Liberties Union. Okay, give it a shot. Spend all your money trying to do that. Bless your heart. But here's the sentence that made me laugh. FAIR's board of advisors included former Fox host Megyn Kelly, disgraced writer Andrew Sullivan, and activist Christopher Rufo, unquote.
Oh, they call him an activist, do they?
They do, because using that other word might get them, canceled from the Twitter.
And Harlan Crow got to write off this donation off of his taxes because it's a donation to a nonprofit, Driftglass.
It's a donation to create a nonprofit. He went through his sofa cushion. He found $500,000 he wasn't using and gave it to one of the worst people to do a terrible thing, along with a bunch of her horrible friends. So, yay. And you know what? I would start a nonprofit for a tenth of that. You want to send me $50,000? I'll start a nonprofit. I'll start one tomorrow.
Start a nonprofit.
Uh-huh.
Trump asked a federal judge to save his guilty ass by postponing his trial on charges of illegally retaining classified documents. He wants to postpone the trial indefinitely, Driftglass.
Yeah.
We think he means until after he wins the 2024 election and can pardon himself.
Uh-huh. Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis seated a grand jury in Atlanta, which will likely decide whether Trump or his Republican allies should face criminal charges for their efforts to overturn his 2020 election loss in Georgia. I'm no lawyer. I don't even play one on TV, but I'm pretty sure conspiring to overthrow an election is a crime.
Yep. Someone, presumably Senate Republican leadership, may have finally yanked Senator Tommy Tuberville's chain hard enough to get him to sorta halfway choke out the words, "white nationalists are racist." You could tell how deeply it hurt him to say it, but he did say it. On CNN this week, Tuberville was asked to clarify comments he made earlier this year, in which he suggested that white nationalists were Americans and should not be barred from serving in the military. Tuberville, however, repeatedly insisted on CNN that it was a matter of opinion as to whether white nationalists are racist. When asked for his opinion, Tuberville responded, "My opinion of a white nationalist, if someone wants to call them white nationalists, to me, is an American. It's an American. Now, if that white nationalist is a racist, I'm totally against anything that they want to do because I am 110% against racism."
Okay, Tommy.
In an attempt to further clarify his views on white nationalists, because we give people like Tommy Tuberville multiple chances.
Oh, all the mulligans. Yep.
Yeah. Tuberville said, "Listen, I'm totally against racism. And if the Democrats want to say white nationalists are racist, I'm totally against that too. My definition is racism bad."
Racism bad. Yeah. Yeah. This is a senator from a state in America.
Well, he also mentioned that being a football coach that gets to tell black players what to do means he's totally not a racist.
No, totally not a racist. Yeah, the problem with you reading that story is your voice sounds too intelligent and to convey the true kind of lead weight stupid.
Well, I just have going through my mind, Driftglass, because I lived in Alabama for 14 years.
Yes, you did.
All three of my children were born in Birmingham. Uh-huh. So I know the people that vote for Tommy Tuberville.
Yeah.
And they're saying to themselves, bless their hearts, that poor man, that poor Christian man is being hounded for believing in America.
Mm-hmm.
And they go right out and vote R all the way because that's the way their church votes.
Good Christian man against.
He's a good Christian man. He's being hounded by the liberal media and the woke.
By the devils in the liberal media, because you know how that goes. In
right.
other Tuberville news, Tommy Tubbs has single-handedly blocked hundreds of promotions for key military officers since February. As a result, the Marine Corps are without a confirmed leader for the first time in 164 years, and the nominations of more than 200 general and flag officers are currently stalled in the Senate. Tuberville is protesting the Defense Department's reproductive health policies, which offer time off and travel reimbursements to service members if they cannot obtain abortions in their state. And as a brief aside, on Twitter, I had to explain to a very angry person who I'm willing to assume was maybe 12 years old, but probably not, and they should know better, that as president, Joe Biden does not actually have the power to do anything because he does not, quote, control the Senate, unquote. Therefore, he has no ability to make Tommy Tubbs stop doing what Tommy Tubbs is doing.
Right.
Jesus. Civics, people. Civics. Learn how your government works.
The ADC Court of Appeals Discipline Committee recommended that Rudy Giuliani be disbarred for frivolous and destructive efforts to subvert the 2020 presidential election.
Poor man.
To which I say, you think?
Yeah. What's he going to do for a living? I'm thinking like hair care products,
live
maybe.
Off his podcast, Driftglass.
Yeah. Well, podcasts will make you rich, Blue Gal. Everyone knows that.
We know that.
Come join us over here in the cobbled media there, Rudy. Everyone apparently is welcome. Senator Ron Johnson is willing to go along with PGA Live merger despite 9/11 and the murder of Jamal Khashoggi.
Yeah, he told 9/11 families they need to get over it.
Yep. He's that, again, an elected U.S. senator from a state who was just reelected to the Senate because Republican voters are terrible, terrible people.
The Chicago area was hit with numerous tornadoes this week.
Yep.
Tornado.
There's footage of people taking shelter at O'Hare that's pretty
harrowing. Yeah.
Now, I would like you to do this next one because you wrote this.
Oh, yes, I did. Eric Swalwell of California did that thing Democrats do when he recalled an event that happened in the before time, Driftglass.
Oh, no.
Did you know memory is the liberal superpower, Driftglass?
I've heard that. I've heard people say that.
So Swalwell was in the Oversight Committee I don't know, maybe it was the Judicial Committee because it was Jim Jordan's committee. So I think it might have been Judiciary. He was, this was the Christopher Wray hearing where all of the Republicans were trying to create taxpayer-funded content for Sean Hannity.
That's all they do.
That's all they do. And Swalwell said to Christopher Wray, I think it's quite rich that the guy, Jim Jordan, that has accused you of lawlessness and weaponization is 400 days into a violation of his own congressional subpoena over January 6th.
Yes.
Quite rich to me that you're hearing all these allegations from somebody who won't even respond to a lawful subpoena.
Well, that's Jim Jordan. Third tier GOP 2024 candidates are offering money in exchange for donations, which is certainly an idea. Governor Doug Burgum, you probably never heard of him, but he's running for president. He's the Republican governor of North Dakota, is promising donors who give at least $1 to his campaign, they will receive a $20 gift card to Burgum's Hair Emporium. Nope. I'm pretty sure it's an actual gift card as opposed to the place where he sells.
But it might be to his merch store.
Sure. Oh, yeah, Burgum merch. That's the hot ticket. My hat is missing. I could use a Burgum hat. The move is intended to get the governor the 40,000 donors he would need to qualify for the Republican presidential debate, because there's this artificial limit of got to have 40,000 donations. They can be $1 a piece. So he's buying them.
So they're all coming up with just silly ways to get that number of people. Yeah. And
Vivek Ramaswamy, his approach is much more like vertical marketing Herbalife-ish, which is offering supporters who raise funds for him to earn a commission on the money they bring in.
Because it's not about the money, it's about the number of donors. So It doesn't matter how much they give,
so if
or
you
how much he gives back.
$1 a piece from 40,000 people, we're going to give you a cut. Now, I hear a rumor that the top prize is a Cadillac Eldorado. Second prize, new set of steak knives. Third prize is you're Donald Trump's running mate. So, have at it, boys and girls.
Hey, Carrie Lake will be in on that action.
You can't.
You know she will.
You can't win if you don't play, so...
And here's a story that sounds like it should be fantastic, and I just have concerns about it because I know how many states in the United States of America hate women. But the FDA has approved over-the-counter birth control pills. It remains to be seen how available they will be, and if they will even be a desirable option for some women, given that prescription contraception I had written earlier that it was free under the ACA. It is not free under the ACA. Under state laws, states are encouraged to make contraceptive counseling and contraception provided without cost to patients.
Right.
So states like Illinois cover every single contraception approved by the FDA. They require insurers to cover that without cost to patients.
Mm-hmm.
Other states like Alabama and Arizona and Florida do not. What do those states have in common, Driftglass?
Oh, I don't know.
Republican legislatures.
Oh, I was going to say sunny and warm, but no, you're probably right. Yeah.
No. Also, the states that have not expanded Medicaid are also the states likely to put up barriers to buying over-the-counter birth control because they hate women.
They really do. I mean, they really do.
And, I had this experience. I was not allowed to be on oral contraception because of blood clots. My daughters have been warned against being on certain kinds of oral contraceptions, the one that have estrogen in them because of blood clot situations. And this new drug, this is the first over-the-counter birth control pill, does not contain estrogen. So it is not at risk for blood clots. But, there are things that people who are prescribed over the prescription contraception would benefit from counseling. Like, you have to take it every day. You have to take it at the same time every day. You have to be really, really consistent about taking it. And you have to watch for side effects. And if certain side effects happen, you really need to call your doctor and get medical help. And so people who are in states where they don't have the option for Medicaid coverage, I mean, it's just, again, it's if you're poor, if you're in a Republican state, your life sucks.
Yeah.
And this is another example of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm grateful that we are making progress in this area where birth control and over-the-counter birth control is being made more available. It's certainly better and more effective than condoms. If you are not able to see a doctor and get a prescription for that, then this is a good option, better option than many others out there. But I am still concerned that the people that need it most, that need the help, that need the counseling, that need a doctor visit, aren't getting it.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. Each week we post to our Facebook page and website an internet kitty sent in by you, the listeners. This week's internet kitty is a dog named Bernie Sanders. And I can't say anything about that because our cat is named Barack Hussein, the Kenyan usurper. So it is a thing. And I got to say, Bernie Sanders is a cute dog.
He's adorable.
He believes in free healthcare, social justice, and taking up most of the bed.
Yeah.
And he's very cute, so he gets to do that. And of course, and this is just hard for me to say because it makes me crack up, but of course, Bernie Sanders eats freshly poured pet food, our fake sponsor. Whether you serve pet store perfection or dollar store dreck, your pets will sit on the kitchen floor and demand that the food they eat is only freshly poured.
Freshly poured, oh my Lord, it's freshly poured.
And you can visit Bernie Sanders. It's a very cute dog, folks.
Very cute dog. Very cute.
At our Facebook page or website. And you can send your internet kitty, dog, or other pet to us at our email address, proleftpodcast@gmail.com, where you can also write to both of us. Feel free to write us. We love hearing from you. Be aware that if you write to us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email or U.S. Postal Service. Go Postal Unions. Letter on the air unless you say otherwise. #FireToJoy. I can't wait until we don't have to say that anymore.
Oh, God, yes. Make it tomorrow.
Don't forget our gourmet coffee guideline. If you can afford to buy an espresso-based beverage for yourself, buy one for us. This is not charity. This is our job. This is Sock Week, by the way.
Yes.
All of us that are involved in Sock Week are knitting a sock, a fingering weight sock, which is a lot of stitches, in 8 days. It's kind of a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
The person organizing this, her online name is Nitty Natty. And she had a post on Instagram where she was talking about paying people who provide knitting services, whether they design a pattern or hand dye yarn.
Yeah.
Obviously, you would buy yarn from someone, but her mixed feelings through the years about paying people for their services and how it felt to become a person who was making money off the internet from her knitting world experience. And she said that she used to think that if someone was doing something they loved for free, that meant they loved it more than if they were getting paid to do it. And she realized, oh, wait, that's not true at all. It's the people that actually put their livelihoods on the line and say, I'm going to make a living at doing this. And this is going to be how I pay my mortgage, how I stock my refrigerator, and I'm going to commit to this. This is going to be my job. This is a commitment that I'm making. Those are the people who are absolutely in love with what they do so much that they'll put their, livelihood and their sacred honor on the line.
They'll bet their future
to do it. They'll bet their future on it.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to share that because that's how we feel. We bet our future on doing this.
Well,
and fighting in the trenches to help people and make the world a better place.
2 quick things. Just watch The Bear if you don't understand this. just watch The Bear. If you don't understand that dynamic,
The Bear
I'm sure
on
everyone
Hulu is so good. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's about that kind of it's a level of commitment that should be committed. It's a wonderful show, but we're not going to review it here. Secondly, there are currently an enormous number of people who are creative people, who are writers and other members of the Hollywood community who are on strike right now because they feel it is right and proper that the fruits of their labor should be paid for, should be rewarded.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
There's value to what they do, and that their value should be commensurate with they're not asking to take over the studios. They're not asking for anything unreasonable. They're simply asking, and they love what they do. Writers love what they do. They hate it. I mean, I hate that blank page staring at me, man. But writers write because that's what writers do. But it is silly to think that everyone else in the entire production system should be paid because they're cutting film and they're special effects experts and they're producing it. But the writers, well, why should they do it for free, man? You love that creative thing, just do it.
Do it for exposure.
Yeah. And I'm not making special pleading on our behalf. I'm simply pleading on behalf of the cobbled together liberal media, which is all we have. So
Yep. Please share our show on social media. And if you love this podcast, please get someone else to listen to. And thank you for doing that. You can also review the podcast on whatever platform you listen on. We'd appreciate that too. Hey, Driftglass, how are the Internet Kitties doing this week?
Well, Blue Gal, the Internet Kitties wonder if it's too late for them to get on the debate stage in Iowa.
Let's think about living. Think about living. Let's think about loving. Think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the popping and the lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the wine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with the switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional Left podcast is recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright 2023 DGBG Productions.